welcome to the Explainer. So today we're going to jump into a really foundational story, one from Genesis chapters 3 through 11. It's all about how a world that was designed to be perfect, this perfect kingdom, basically came apart at the seams.
All right, so let's just dive right into the big question that really sets up everything else. I mean, you start with a world that's described as very good, and then you look around at the world we live in now. How did we get from there to here? Well, the book of Genesis points to one single world-altering moment. You know, it all kicked off not with some huge explosion or a war, but with a quiet conversation. A single interaction that basically put the entire structure of reality on trial and completely redefined humanity's relationship with God. Now, check out the strategy here. The first move isn't a direct attack. It's a question. And it's so subtle, so clever, it's designed to plant this tiny seed of doubt, not just about a rule, but about God's fundamental goodness, his character, and ultimately, his right to rule. And there it is. That little seed of doubt just blossoms into a flat-out contradiction of what God said. But look at what it's paired with, this incredibly seductive promise. You don't have to listen to anyone. You can be your own God. You can decide for yourself what's right and wrong. Okay, and this is so important to get. This was never, ever just about eating a piece of fruit. The story frames it as an act of cosmic treason. Just think about the weight of that for a second. This is the moment humanity says, you know what? We'll be the ones to define reality. It's a declaration of independence from the creator of the universe. And the fallout? Wow, it was immediate and it was total. I mean, the contrast here is just staggering. You go from intimacy to fear and shame, from a garden paradise to exile, from willing obedience to open rebellion, and from life itself to a curse, pain, and death. Every single part of the kingdom just shattered. So let's keep going and look at how this external act of rebellion caused this catastrophic shift on the inside. It's almost like the basic operating system of human consciousness got infected with a bunch of viruses. So what's the very first emotional fallout we see in the text? It's not anger, it's not sadness, it's this deep, penetrating sense of shame. Just think about that. These are the people God literally just called very good, the pinnacle of his creation. And suddenly they feel exposed, flawed, unworthy, and their very first impulse is to cover up, to hide who they are. And, I mean, let's be honest, we still do this all the time, right? We have our own fig leaves. We use our jobs, our successes, the way we look, those perfect social media filters. All of it is an attempt to hide the parts of us we're afraid just aren't good enough. Okay, so after shame, the next virus to hit the system is fear. The relationship that was once defined by this amazing open intimacy with their creator, it's now totally broken. The sound of God in the garden, which must have been the most comforting sound in the universe, suddenly becomes a source of terror. Their instinct is to run and hide from the very one who gave them life. Intimacy is replaced by isolation. And finally, once you've got shame and fear running the show, what's the next logical step? Self-preservation, and that almost always takes the form of blame. I mean, listen to this. The moment they're confronted, do they take responsibility? Nope. It is instant finger-pointing. Adam blames Eve, and he even kind of throws a little blame at God, right? The woman you gave me. Then Eve turns around and blames the serpent, and just like that, the blame game is born. So this toxic internal cocktail of shame, fear, and blame, well, it didn't just stay inside their heads. It went viral. It spread like a disease from their own minds out into the world, infecting all of society. And you can just watch this terrifying downward spiral. It starts in the family, with brother turning on brother, the first murder. Pretty soon, you've got guys like Lamech actually bragging about violence. It gets so bad that by the time of the flood, the story says humanity's thoughts were only evil all the time, leading to this tragic decreation event. And it all culminates at Babel, where the whole world finally unites in a massive project of rebellion. And all through this section of the story, there's this long list of names, a genealogy. And after almost every single name, you get this haunting, repetitive phrase, like a drumbeat of doom. And then he died. It's like biology itself is screaming that the serpent was a liar and God's warning was true. Death was now king. And the Tower of Babel? Well, this was the grand finale of the perished kingdom. What was their goal? Let us make a name for ourselves. This is it. This is the ultimate project of human self-reliance, trying to grab glory and get to heaven on their own terms. And what was the result? Not unity. It was chaos, confusion, and division.
But, just when you think it's all doom and gloom, just when human arrogance is at its absolute peak, the story pulls a surprise move. It reveals that a little glimmer of hope, a promise, wasn't tacked on at the end, but was planted right at the very beginning of the fall.
This is amazing. Right in the middle of listing all the consequences, God makes this promise. He says that one day an offspring of the woman is going to come, and he's going to deliver a fatal blow. He will crush the head of the serpent, the source of all this corruption. It's the very first hint of a future victory. Now fast forward to the New Testament, and the writers there pick up this idea and run with it. They frame this whole story as a massive setup. They draw this incredible contrast between the first Adam, who failed in a perfect garden, and a second Adam, Jesus, who succeeded in a harsh wilderness. Where the first Adam's rebellion brought death, the second Adam's perfect obedience brings the offer of life. So, if you're going to take one big thing away from this whole story, what is it? It's that the brokenness we see all around us, and even the brokenness we feel inside ourselves, according to this narrative, it isn't a flaw in the original design. It's the tragic result of a kingdom that has perished, a world in a state of rebellion. So let's just nail it down. The core problem? A rebellion against God's loving rule. The result? A new internal reality defined by shame, fear, and blame. And this reality isn't contained. It spreads and corrupts everything it touches. But, and this is the key, right from the start, a promise of a solution was put on the table. And that really just leaves us with one final crucial thought. If the story's diagnosis of a perished kingdom is right, then it forces us to ask a really important question about our own lives. In what kingdom are we placing our citizenship? Where are we finding our identity and our hope for a kingdom that will actually last?